Hey, welcome to ServiceSharp. This is a podcast all about ServiceNow. We will be talking strategy, architecture, technology, just everything ServiceNow. We are not affiliated with ServiceNow. The opinions expressed are our own. We are just a couple of people that are very passionate about the platform. So hope you'll join us for every episode. And without further ado, here we go.
Welcome back. This is Jason Gibson with ServiceSharp. We have Brent Peters and Randy Haas with us today, and we are talking a little bit about working from home, which is something that is obviously on lots of our minds. So how have you guys been doing working at home? We've got everybody, I think, now working from home.
It's been fun and interesting. Some different challenges.
I'm used to working from home or working remote because of the consulting work over the years, and also we used to have some periodic days at the last company we were all at as well, where we were able to do remote work. The difference has been with the majority of everybody else working from home. That's been an adjustment. Usually it was one or two people at home and two or three people at the office. So when there was legwork that needed to be done, you had that option. Now people are adjusting their communication and having some fun doing that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm used to from home, and I've worked from home for 15 years plus of my life, and I never had a problem with it. But it is a little different because my wife is also working from home, and my kids are out of school. So I have my 7-year-old daughter jumping on my lap, and I'm having to share my office with my wife. So it becomes very much a different dynamic. But I think one of the most important things that I did is I set aside an additional work area. So it happens to be the kitchen, and it happens to be the kitchen table. But, I've got monitor and docking station and everything hooked up there to have just kind of like a separate working area. And that seemed to work. You guys kind of doing the same thing, or how is it going with you guys there?
I just have a normal workstation set up that I usually use for all my jobs, and so I've just been using it. And I found that I don't turn the light on very often, which I should, but
yeah.
But I've worked from home. I've worked from home in the past, but this, like Randy said, this is different because of it seems like everybody I work with remotely is now working remote too. And so scheduling meetings and, getting people that have never used virtual media software, understanding how to do it is always fun.
Yeah, that has been really interesting. We joke about all of the different things that we go through when we're in our Teams meetings or in meetings in general, and the whole, well, can you hear me? And the whole, being muted, and they're really accentuated because a lot of the people haven't really been working in those environments much. I mean, I do it all the time. I do it too. So don't get me wrong. It's not like it's just other people, but it seems like it has been accentuated because of that. Because we have these people who do not normally work in that environment.
Are you guys doing your meetings with video?
At my permanent job, we have a stand-up every morning, and there are 8 of us on the phone call or on the team meeting, and 2 of them use webcams. Everybody else has decided to turn theirs off.
Yeah, so I don't I turned mine on once because we were in a meeting and they asked us to turn them on, which was kind of weird. And I blurred because in Teams you can blur out your background. So I did that and blurred out my background, so all they could see is my silhouette anyway.
Ooh,
And that was
that.
It's really cool. I mean, seriously, it's really cool. It was a feature that I haven't used before, but I really didn't want them seeing me. So, but word of advice, just a word of advice: put clothes on before you go to a meeting.
Well,
something I never thought I'd hear anybody have to say.
Yeah.
Right?
I will have to say my morning routine is not that much different. I do still get up, get ready. I put on the clothes I would wear to work. I put those on. Granted, we can wear jeans to work, so that's a lot more comfortable. So I do that, and then I get up, do breakfast, come in and log in and start working.
And I think that's the trick. And that's the trick when I've always worked from home before is you got to keep a routine. You got to get up, you got to get a shower, get dressed. You're not just rolling over, throwing yourself on your bed, right? You're intentionally getting up, getting dressed, getting ready, getting coffee going, or going and getting a coffee from the local drive-in because you can't go actually in anywhere. But just kind of getting that normal routine and then come in and actually it does something to your brain where it makes you where you're awake and ready to go, if that makes sense.
Well, awake.
Yeah.
Well, I could if I stayed in bed and tried to work all day from bed, I wouldn't wake up all day.
Yeah. I think it's definitely you don't want to just try to stay in bed and work, but there is something, studies have shown that, what you wear and everything influences how professional that you act. And so I think it is important to dress like, get up and dress like you're going to work for the most part.
Right. And have a routine, I found.
Yeah, have a routine is good.
I mean, if you do the same kind of routine you do at work, so you have breakfast, you go into work, you have lunch at a certain time at work, have lunch when you're working remotely at the same time, follow the same kind of routine, it'll be easier when we do get to go back to work to do that. So,
and for your own sanity, get up and walk around every once in a while. Don't just sit for 8 hours.
Yeah. Yep. And something I haven't done yet, but I really want to incorporate is when it's warm and nice and beautiful like it was today and going to be tomorrow. I've got a card table. I think tomorrow I'm going to set it up, outside, right outside, on my back patio, get some of the outside exposure to get out of that. I haven't left the house in 4 days kind of feeling,
A little tip, if you have meetings with anyone else, don't do it outside. The birds and all that get annoying.
Too loud.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay. Along with all this, I've noticed that having ServiceNow being a remote service has made things a lot easier for us.
Oh, yeah.
For me and all the 200 and some odd other people in our IT department. They've had issues connecting to everything else, but the people I talk to have not had an issue getting to ServiceNow because they're like, it's just like I'm at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been absolutely the same experience. Cisco's down, or this is down, or that's down, and I'm not even concerned about it, and it's not bothering me a bit. I see the panic and the incidents going and all the stuff, but it's not affecting me because I don't work in that environment. I work in ServiceNow, the stability. Have anybody that you've heard of had any problems with ServiceNow at all? Because I haven't heard of anybody.
I haven't. I wonder if they've boosted. Well, no, because the workload would still be the same.
Well, you'd have, but you might have more people accessing it remotely. I don't know.
it's still the same as if you're doing it at work.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was always remote. You know, the nice thing about ServiceNow, the way it's set up for a lot of companies, some companies actually require you to tunnel in for authentication. But
That's
for most
true.
companies, you don't have to have a VPN up, or you don't have to have a VDI that works or anything like that. You just have to have an internet connection and some sort of device. So that eliminates some of the problems that some of these other solutions have been having as far as being overwhelmed.
Right. Our VPN got overwhelmed the first couple of days, so a lot of that stuff didn't work. So you couldn't use Skype and stuff like that. People were having to go do office.com to be able to get to stuff. So, but ServiceNow, you don't have to do that. So it worked perfectly for all of our users.
People need to start using the collaboration tools that are in ServiceNow more. I've started using those more now that we've been working remotely. I can see their presence when I'm working on something. I can ping them, inside I know a lot of people don't use that, but I've been doing that because it seems like it's been an easy way for me to collaborate about something specific. I've been using Teams for pretty much everything else, but if I'm working on something and I want somebody to look at something, I see they're up there, I just hit them on that. And it seems to be working pretty well. Have you guys tried to do any more of that, or have you stayed with Teams and Skype and that?
We've been using more of Teams and Skype and stuff like that. Most of my fellow employees use Teams, but when it comes to tickets, we have already been doing Collaborate and the chat and all that in there. So have been using it more over the last couple of weeks, but they were using it already. So I've just kind of gotten them that way so that they could, collaborate on their tickets.
Yeah. Good job. That's awesome. I love to hear that. I don't think that's used near enough because it's a great tool. And a lot of people don't even know about it. They just don't pay any attention to it.
Right. And what we like is that it documents the conversations between the technicians and all that on the tickets when they do it related to a ticket. So they don't have to say, okay, well, I emailed Joe Blow and asked him this question, waiting for him to return an answer, and so on. It just always goes back and forth. So I can't say everybody in the department uses it, but they use it a lot more than they used to.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So we're using more of those. We're the collaboration stuff, and we're doing a lot more Teams meetings. I don't have the in-person meetings anymore, which I miss. I don't know if you guys have been missing it, but I miss personal interaction some. But it's a give and a take, right? We're doing this. We're sacrificing for a reason here.
Yeah, but see, I live with 5 other people, so I interact with them quite often. So.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah, I definitely have plenty of distractions with that. How is that going? Been keeping focused?
See, I'm not like you. I don't have younger children. Mine are all adults, so it's easier because they go, he's on the phone, I'm leaving him alone. So it's been fine. It's easier for me to maintain. It's my puppies that bug me the most. But it's something I can get used to.
So the dog is definitely my problem. Is my children. They're wonderful and amazing, but they do want attention, and so I'm able to ignore what's going on usually for the most part because they're really very good kids. But earlier today, my son got 3 or 4 pieces of ham and was running through the house with a few pieces of ham, dogs, 2 Australian shepherds chasing him. He's 10, by the way. And my daughter screaming the entire time. And it's like, okay. And right at that time, I'm on a call.
Oh, that's always fun.
It's always
so,
fun.
Yep. So it is. At the Gibson house, it is never a dull moment. And I promise you that. They understand. So, I think, I don't know why, but if I let them know, hey, I've called, you need to quiet it down. They actually do more than I would have expected going into this. But I sat them early on and explained, I'm working. This is, I've got work to get accomplished. I have people to talk to, and they need to hear me, not screaming in the background. And they've been really good about kind of keeping it down for the most part and leaving alone for the most part. My daughter does like to climb up on my lap and watch me work sometimes, but I can't with that. So, well, 6 and,
Yeah. See, I've gotten it to where they understand if my door's closed, I'm on a meeting or something. So they kind of leave me alone. But I've found that, even at work, you're not always behind your desk. So there are times that I get up and have to walk around, or I go outside and sit let the dogs run around or whatever, just to take a 5-10 minute break to get away, because you kind of have to get away ever so often.
Yeah. Hey, Randy, you have 4 kids at home. How are you handling this?
Much the same way. Mine are really pretty good about, of course, I have an office at home. So, if my door's shut, then they don't, they knock before they bother and everything. Of course, they're getting stir crazy a little bit. And so sometimes they get after each other, and that can be a little bit distracting. But for the most part, they've been really good about the whole thing. My next youngest likes to come in and wants to watch me work. And I'm like, since I do a lot of, it's IT work, so it's a lot of sitting in front of the computer and clicking buttons. So I'm sure it looks incredibly boring to her.
And looking at a bunch of text that makes no sense to anybody.
Right. Yeah, exactly. When she asked me, she's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's JavaScript." And she's like, "What is that?" And I go, "It's kind of like computer language, kind of, She's like, "Wow." And I'm like, it's JavaScript.
Yeah. I can tell you the hardest part about working from home right now is we're in the middle, at the very end of implementing Safe Agile, or the Safe module. Mm-hmm. And it actually goes live Monday. And getting everybody coordinated, getting everybody to understand how this whole Agile thing is going to work for them. 300 people know what they're doing. Has been a nightmare. So it'd be nice to be able to do face-to-face training and all that kind of stuff. So this has made a little bit of a challenge, but we've kind of got past it. And, I will not be talking to anybody this weekend. So,
I would imagine. You're done. You're put a fork in me. I'm done. Yeah, we have those. We definitely have those times where we feel like we need to disconnect. And I this weekend we're going to disconnect a little as well, because it's just, and I don't know if you guys have felt this way. It's hard to stop working. So just like when I was self-employed, I was working all the time, and now I feel I'm doing the same, getting into some of those same patterns.
Well, yes, but from working from home for years now, every so often, or for a while, I did it like every week, once a week, I'd stay home and work. I got to where I was working past the normal time and longer and all that, and started earlier and everything. I got in the routine after that, thinking, okay, I'm going to burn myself out. I need to start at the same time and end at the same time as if I was in the office, because it can burn you out. There are times in the office that you're like right in the middle of something and you got to finish it. So you work 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever to finish it. But you kind of have, I found that I have to follow those hours still, or I'm going to be burned out so much that I don't want to go back to work.
Yeah.
Well, and I was working on a SolarWind integration, and as I'm doing it, and as I'm working on the script, it just kind of get involved in it. And without those, hey, you've got to get up and go pick up your kids from school, or without any of those kind of things, and I'm already home. I looked up and it was 7:30, and I've been working since 6.
Set a time.
So, yeah, and so I just you have to watch that, because I think that is really could be a detriment in all of this in the end.
Right. And it's amazing. Yeah. Setting timers, that kind of stuff, watching the time and all, but it's amazing. My full-time job, I'm used to working there and then leaving and then come home and do consulting stuff after hours and all. Mm-hmm. But it's just, this working remote is just so much different for the full-time job that it's kind of, I don't know. It's the same things I do as a consultant, but it just is weird that the way that we're doing it for full-time stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I work for myself, so I've been having that problem for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I have to force myself to go out and spend time with the family and make sure that I'm not just sitting in here all the time without interacting. And sometimes I do a good job of it, and sometimes I could do a lot better job of it. So that's definitely something to watch out for, I think.
Yeah. You gotta set your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And with Brent, right? He's probably spent a tremendous amount of hours because he's got this launch for SAFE coming up, but it's okay. So we're going to work a lot now. Let's kind of take it easy the following week and not push like you did. Like if you're doing a go live, I get it. Work 24/7 if you have to make sure you hit that goal, but then make sure and take the time with your family the next week and make sure to spend that appropriately. And the balance doesn't have to be in one day. The balance though has to be there.
Yeah. And along with that safe stuff is full-time jobs, healthcare. So you also have to deal with all the stuff that they're changing and putting out for this stuff. So we've been, some of us have been volunteered to go help with the mobile or the drive-through testing centers and taking equipment to people that are working from home now that have never worked from home, so they don't have equipment there and stuff like that. I have not, because I'm quite a ways away from our building. But
you mean you live in the boonies?
Yes, I do.
Means. You live.
I have dial-up internet. No, no, but people have been doing things that are not IT related specifically, but so getting a hold of some of those people are kind of hard, but there's a lot of things that are different and uncertain, but we just kind of have to go with the flow and stuff. So it's been a challenge on that kind of stuff. And
there's definitely a lot of fast changing priorities right now for the healthcare side of things.
Oh yes. Yep.
Well, and it's strange because this has moved so fast. And I think that it's still going to continue to move this kind of at this kind of speed. But, and I don't know about you guys, but I think that it's going to, as fast as it came, it's going to go. It may be a few months before that happens.
I think you're right.
Seems like,
but
yeah,
I also think that we're going to see some permanent changes to the way we work and do business after this. You get schools are done physically here in Oklahoma for this year. So my kids will be finishing out their school year starting next week as virtual students. Well, you're not going to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak, as far as that goes. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what goes back to the way it was and what changes. We've got probably hundreds of thousands of businesses that have been resistant to any sort of work from home policy up until this point that are now being forced to. And so I think we're going to see a big change, a lot more use of Zoom and a lot more use of tools like ServiceNow to manage things in a decentralized manner and create a resilient, mobile workforce. Obviously, there's some things that cannot be done remote, but there's a lot of things that people have said are essential and can't be done unless you're in the office that are now being done.
Right. It's amazing
and
how
the
much
weird thing is
it is.
And the weird thing for me is that, or what I told Michelle, I said, listen, you're going to find that there are some people that they're going to find out that those jobs are actually more efficient when they're working from home. They're going to find that they can save money by not having large facilities. They're going to find out there's a lot of potential here for kind of a mobile workforce. And I think you're right. I think it's going to change the fabric of how work is done. But the wonderful thing about it to me is ServiceNow is on the forefront of it and has been all along. And so, if you're a developer or an admin in ServiceNow, your job's fixing to be more important.
Right, because you could put a lot more remote work into ServiceNow because it's already remote.
That's right.
Well, and the original intention for building it was for it to be a platform to do work, not a platform for tickets, and so I think we'll see more of that now platform mentality being touted. And we're going to start seeing more people building custom workflows, custom applications and things to replace things that we've all of a sudden found out aren't as agile as we thought they were, or as resilient or whatever as we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. Yeah. We've done several things in the past that have been, stuff that was paperwork and everything. So we automated that stuff, and now they can do that kind of things remotely. Luckily, we had already done that stuff, but I can see that this is also going to go, hey, we have this one process that we found that's not working because we have to work remotely now. Can we automate it somehow?
Yeah.
Or put it online?
Right.
Can we act like it's the year 2020 instead of the year 1920?
Exactly.
But a lot of this is executive driven, because we understand it. We understand working from home better because we are familiar with it. We have done it. We understand what it takes to do it, and that we have the technology to do it, and we have the capabilities to do it, and we can build custom apps in ServiceNow to do it. We've got all that understanding they don't have, and we have done a very poor job showing that it can be done better this way. And the one thing that this has done, it has forced them to take a look at it and say, and ask that question, wow, is it really better? And is it better? Is it more cost efficient? Because a lot of people think that if you're going to be at home, you're not working, right? You're just saying you're working, you're on vacation, or you're not going to be productive. But when the numbers come out from this, I think they're going to be super, super surprised it is not the case, and that people are as productive or more productive working from home.
Well,
I think that you'll have a little bit of a mixed bag. In some respects, you're definitely going to have some people that take advantage probably of this. But my conjecture on that is that those same people are taking advantage of it at work too.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So the people that work at work are going to be working at home.
That's right. Yeah.
People that just kind of wander around and hang out at the coffee pot are going to be, watching Netflix and moving their mouse every so often so that Skype shows that they're still online.
Yeah.
That is not advice. That is what not to do.
I saw a GIF earlier today, or GIF, however you say it. Let's start a debate on that. But with a person that had an oscillating fan and that had two Tinger toy sticks on either side of it, and then the mouse in between, so that when the fan oscillated, it would move the mouse one way, and then when it turned back the other way, it moved the mouse the other way. And
wow.
The caption was, when you need to show that you're still active for your work computer.
I got to go find that fan somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need
creative.
A fan.
I mean,
well, that is creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're IT. We're better than that. We'll do something with power, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll find that high performers are going to be performers at home. I know that Personally, when I'm not physically in presence, I feel a higher urgency to have deliverables that I can bring to the table than when I'm, at a traditional office or something like that.
Well, I find that I don't get distracted as much because people don't just walk up and start talking to you. So I do get more done at home.
I think what you find when you do remote work is that managers who have a tendency to micromanage are going to have to examine how they do business. And
yes. Yep.
Those are the ones that tend to also be super resistant to working from home. I think there's real opportunity to increase your productivity by letting your people do what they do best rather than interfering in what they do.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I've had a micromanager once in the past, and she would have never let anybody work from home, but it's been more productive over the years that we've been doing it at my job. There are people that don't do work, but that's the same as the office, like we said.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know as from a manager perspective, when I have let people work remote in the past, I knew in advance which people were going to be productive and which weren't, because it would be the same people that I struggled with at the office.
Exactly.
And so if you can't trust your workforce as a remote workforce, I'm just going to be blunt. That's a management issue. That's not a people issue.
I don't know what made me think of this, but years ago at the same company, I was in charge of the asset and CMDB stuff. And one of the softwares that we had monitored what people used. So it would monitor the active EXEs that were up. And mainly what that was for was, hey, you have access loaded and you haven't used it in 12 months. So we're taking it away and we're going to put that license somewhere else. That's what it was supposed to be. But some of the reports I used to run just for fun was, okay, who's playing solitaire? And there was a guy there that would play solitaire for 8 hours straight. Wow. And this software was cool because it would only do it if it was active. So if you had solitaire open and minimized, it would not count it if you're actively using it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that guy's not working at home.
No. And the thing is that we can be productive no matter where we're at. And the idea is if we're not being productive, if they're not being productive, then maybe they don't need to have that job.
Yeah.
I hate to say it that way, but that's the reality.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's two things to examine. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily go, and this is the other company that I that I run talking here, but I wouldn't necessarily immediately go to, is it the employee's fault? I think that, like I said, as a manager, you have a burden to, am I clear about what my expectations are? Do my people know what they need to get done? Do they have deliverables that need to be turned in when this is all over? Because if you haven't set that out, then you have no right to expect them to meet your expectations.
You are absolutely right.
Exactly.
You are absolutely right. There is a responsibility for the leadership as well. So it is twofold, surely. But I just think that more often I see there is the people that are working from home that end up just giving everybody else a bad name. That bothers me quite a bit. And so if it isn't a leadership issue, if the leader is doing what they're supposed to do and they're just not want to work, then a decision has to be made, right?
Right. Well, that person probably doesn't work at work, and that decision should be made for them overall. But
if you have a high performer that performs well at the office, that all of a sudden you don't think they're performing well at home, then you need to do an investigation and figure out, what right. is it? Because there might be someone that is just really, really needs the social interaction, the social pressure in order to perform. And in that case, you need to figure out, okay, with remote tools, well, with Teams, with ServiceNow, with Slack, there are ways to increase your interaction, even if you're not physically in the same office. And you need to, so you need to examine some of those things before you make your decisions on people. But
Exactly.
certainly if they weren't a high performer to begin with, then you should have been coaching them long before you sent them home to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I see that the fact that working from home can be difficult for people, especially in the time right now where kids are at home and stuff to that effect. And I got an email, and a leader actually says, okay, my recommendation from you is start early and work late. If you have kids that you have to do stuff during the day with, that's okay. But start early and work late and just make sure and get your stuff done. And I think that's what any leader should expect. That you balance that to get your work done. But I think you have a responsibility as well for your family. So if you do have to break away to do stuff, I get it.
I think this situation is an extraordinary situation where a normal work from home scenario is not going to involve the entire family being on lockdown like it is now.
Yeah, right.
And so right now, people need to be flexible with those things because there's going to be situations that people just have no control over that distract them and take up some of their time. But yeah, in general, in a normal work from home environment, you're responsible for figuring out how to segment things out in order to keep hitting your goals.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a manager before this last manager before the current manager that when you worked from home, you let them know what you're planning on doing that day, and then you let them know what you did that day. And that motivated me a little bit better than just, okay, I'm going to work on this stuff today. So even though I don't email my manager anymore and say, I did this today, I do have a checklist of here's what I plan on getting done today. And I check it off. So it's makes me feel better. Okay, I did get stuff done today, and here's what I did. Plus, I can turn around and say, well, here's what I did if they ever ask. But
right. Well, and the thing is, but you are a high performer. You are the employee that everybody wants. You know how to go to work and get it done. Oh, come on. You have always been a higher performer than anybody else that I've known.
You haven't worked with me for 3 years now. I've gotten cranky.
You've gotten cranky. You've got so basically, you say you since I've left, you've gotten lazy. Somehow, I doubt it.
No, I haven't gotten lazy. I just gotten crankier. Yeah, it might be the old age.
Maybe. I feel a little bit like Clark the Clark Griswold.
Oh, Griswold, yeah.
That's what I've been feeling like a lot lately. Is I don't know if you've ever seen the vacation one where he's on his way to the park, to the Disney World kind of thing, and he's like, we're gonna have fun no matter what. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been lately, and I don't know why. It's hitting me in my old age.
That's funny.
Anyway, so what we're saying is working from home can be great, but again, another little bit of information that I like to make sure that you do is when you get up and get dressed and get out and get around, and go to your team or Slack or wherever you're doing your communication with the rest of your team and say good morning. I know that when we're in the office, we can do it in person, but I found that people don't do that as much online, and I don't know why, but I think that it might be better. I think if everybody just said, hey, good morning, and got to everybody, then it would be, a lot better off. But
yeah, I will say the stand-up that we have every morning, even though we're all sitting down on microphones on Teams, it is, nice to go, okay, that's when I'm starting, do the stand-up, talk to everybody, see how people are doing, because there's people I work with that live alone. So, interacting with them and getting them morale or keeping their, interaction going it helps them, and it also helps me, and I agree with that.
I think that, one of the things you need to do is also make sure that your communication is with the entire team when things need to be communicated, because I think that, when you work from home and you maybe message one or two people, you forget that there may be three other people that need to know that information. That normally would find it out because they were sitting in the meeting with you
Right.
or sitting in the cubes next to you or something like that.
Right. And overheard and go, hey, wait, what?
Right. And so, you need to make sure that you're distributing information and communicating decisions and stuff like that out, and not assuming that everybody knows everything, which is where something like ServiceNow or Teams comes in really handy because, everything's in one spot. You can organize a lot better.
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And collaborate.
One thing that I have to do here, but I wanted to let everybody know we are not a ServiceNow sponsored podcast, but we do have a sponsor. So give me just a minute and let us hear a word from them, and we'll be right back.
This podcast was made with Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to create and publish your podcast. It's free. Creation tools with it allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Helps you distribute your podcast. It's super simple to publish to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, any of the major ones. You can make money from your podcast. There's no minimum listenership, so they make it super easy to monetize. It's really everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So why don't you go out and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started.
Okay, we're back. So we are having fun working from home, trying to keep our kids from jumping on our heads while we're trying to work. And I don't know if anybody, I guess we talked about this earlier, about the school being out for the year. So this is something we're going to have to deal with throughout the rest of the year, at least the rest of what will be the school year. And hopefully things will get back to normal this summer, and we'll be able to kind of get them into their summer classes and summer school and things like that. But meanwhile, we're trying to work from home, and ServiceNow gives a lot of that ability. So what would you say your absolute favorite thing about ServiceNow is as far as working remotely?
Well, the easiest thing is the fact that no matter where you are or what kind of internet connection you have, you can still get to the service. So when our service desk is assigning out tickets because our end users are having problems at home or they're not connecting or whatever, we can get through it no matter what other service is down. So our incident management and request management has been, just busy this week and last week, but it's held up and it's been really easy for all of our employees to get to.
Awesome.
My favorite thing about it is the same as what it is just in general, though. It's the fact that you have all of your information. If you're using it right, you have all of your information in one application, and so everything is cross-referenced and stuff, so that you don't waste time trying to figure out, okay, is so-and-so using this, or are they doing that, or they're referring to this? Because if you've got your assets and you've got your configuration set up, then you can figure out quickly what the impact of something is, and or how many people might be affected. Like say, the VPN goes down, or one particular segment of the VPN, if you have a huge company, goes down. Well, you automatically know who all's on that segment if you've got it set up, configured right, and so you can immediately put resources to where they need to be, rather than fumbling around trying to figure out who's affected or who's impacted, or having to send out an email saying, if you can't read my email, let me know.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is crazy that we ever lived in that environment where it was so, and people still love having everything on-prem, but we're in an environment where lots of the stuff we do is now is cloud-based.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was extremely happy with a couple of things. I was extremely happy with how fast it was to take the entire service desk for one of our customers. We took that entire service desk, and they are now working remotely. Now, it took a lot of work, but they're all working remotely.
But it didn't take a lot of work.
Do that. It only took a lot of work because they had to get laptops for people who.
That's what I was going to say. It did
part of the service desk. It was a.
The service infrastructure hardware.
Yeah, if ServiceNow side didn't take a long time. It was the getting them. Yeah, like you said, laptops, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff.
Once everybody got their gear, it was very seamless. Getting the phone systems moved was another thing, and we also, again, about changing the dynamic of things. I've started looking into alternatives to, the Avaya systems and using something like 3C Logic, which is a native ServiceNow integration. That seems extremely promising because it is cloud-based as well, and it is one cloud platform talking to another cloud platform that integrates in ServiceNow seamlessly. And it is really, so far everything I've looked at is it's a really good product, and so I'm been looking into that as far as to help with those service desks that maybe want to stay mobile. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will have to say we have voice over IP, so it was a lot easier to be able to transfer that stuff. But those people do have to use the VPN that have those numbers. But But like I said, our IT department has been doing it for years, so a lot of our IT department knew real quick what we were going to have to do for the rest of the departments to be able to do it, and they hopped on it pretty quickly. But we have people working, like Randy said, or Jason, one of you said earlier, we have people that said that they couldn't do their job remotely, doing their job remotely now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty phenomenal how in so many different sectors we've been able to.
Sorry, go ahead, Randy.
I said I think it's extremely phenomenal how in so many different sectors we've been able to to quickly switch from being, in the office to remote. Some of the places I've worked, some of the clients I've worked, there was quite a bit of work, like you said, scrambling to get accounts provisioned and laptops or tablets or something like that ready to go. But the technological backbone was there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we had to scramble to get people access, but to be able to do it remotely. But it was pretty easy once they got all that going. But
we had an issue with we didn't have enough VDIs.
Yeah.
So that was a problem for a minute or two.
Well, a lot of our customers or a lot of our users are already doing VDIs, so they just have dumb terminals on their computer, on their desktop. So it was just, hey, new way to get to your VDIs. So that worked great, but it was just coincidence.
You guys, I'll be honest, you are ahead of schedule with a lot of this stuff. And
we kind of are, even though our executives don't always think we are, but it just worked out that way. Because of executives that are no longer there made the right decisions up front. So it was nice. But
and you're in healthcare. I mean, and that part is really important to understand. Healthcare has to be 24 hours and 7 days a week. So there's some of that is in the nature of being a 24/7 shop.
It's cheaper to buy a thin client that goes on your desktop and hosts the VDI. So over, 11,000 employees, you get most of them on a VDI and a thin client. It's a lot cheaper in the long run. So that's kind of why they went that way, but it just helps with remote. So it worked out great. And having the portal out there on ServiceNow, so when they did have issues and they could still get to it no matter what PC or phone or whatever they had, that helped with getting them back up and running faster too, because they could log their tickets.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there for companies to even make it faster to move in this type of environment, because there's probably a lot of things that you could be doing in ServiceNow that you're still doing outside of ServiceNow, where you wouldn't even need to provision a VDI or a client or anything like that, because the ServiceNow backbone would be handling it.
Right. In some cases where we had done custom apps for people, they have actually emailed me. 2 of them emailed me this week and said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think this would be so nice, but you automating our service made this so easy for us to be working from home now." So,
doesn't that always honestly make you feel good, right?
Oh, yes.
To know that you're making that kind of an impact on the organization. And
then they turn around and say, "By the way, can we change this?" There's always that in there.
There's always that. I mean, that's always going to happen for sure. But the fact that it was beneficial to them was important.
Oh yeah.
I heard that was a couple of my favorite projects were my favorite projects because they were so grateful for what we were doing, putting it in ServiceNow.
Oh, and one of these people was one of the things that you worked on when you worked with us. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome. Very cool. So, kind of to wrap up, because I think we're running low on, or running a little over. But I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, us. Yeah,
never do that.
Never. No, we don't have an hour and a half one out there. Sorry, everybody.
And that was edited.
Oh yeah, that was edited down. Yeah, so
definitely edited.
Well, and if anybody was, listening to the one where my voice got all wonky, as for that one too. But we are a work in progress, but we're here to help you. We want you to give us feedback, and even if it's, "Wow, you sounded weird," which is a feedback I got from somebody. But so any feedback is welcome, and we really appreciate you listening. And next time we'll keep trying to figure out new and cool stuff. Next week we got a real cool one coming up. So definitely spread the word. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it is going to be more on the technical side. But there'll be stuff in it for everybody.
Yep.
And I will say that even though my company doesn't, this isn't the podcast for my company, we just sponsor it. If anybody out there needs assistance in technical issues still with remote work, shoot me a message. We're offering some free help to get people up and running, or to help them overcome some, issues that they might have. And also on the leadership strategy side, if you need help motivating remote employees or figuring out what the proper policies and things like that need to be, just give us a message.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Until next time.
It's been great.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Always. Bye.